I'm Jen, the Oregon Trail Gen X nerd, and welcome to this interview series where I'm introducing you to the ordinary people who are attempting to do something extraordinary to get a movie uncanceled. It's already an extraordinary situation. Actor Adam Driver revealed that he had recruited past collaborator Steven Soderbergh and his team to develop a cool and cost-effective Ben Solo story for Lucasfilm. It was titled The Hunt for Ben Solo. Apparently, the script passed through all of the checks at Lucasfilm, including for canon, and began pre-production. And then Disney CEO Bob Iger canceled it, which had never happened before. So Star Wars fans who are heartbroken and who would otherwise invest their dollars and time in Ben Solo merchandise and movie tickets are instead spending their dollars and time lobbying Disney to greenlight the film again. My next guest, Brandon, has been sharing his passion for Star Wars on YouTube and other social media for over 2 years now. His nerd room is still featured in his posts on Star Wars topics like Ahsoka, The Mandalorian, and the sequel films. And with broad interest in the newer Star Wars content, Brandon seemed like an ideal person to talk about what could be really good about a Ben Solo movie. Brandon, thanks so much for speaking with me. Tell us, where did your Star Wars fandom begin?
Wow. And yeah, first off, thank you so much for having me on tonight. I know we've been talking about this for a while and kind of glad to get it going now. Obviously the premise, the hunt for Ben Solo, is just something that's just pulling Star Wars fans from all corners of the fandom together. And that's what this is. So just want to say thank you for having me on. Can't wait to kind of get rolling. Love what you do. But yeah, man, wow, Star Wars. How did I get into it? So back when I was a young kid, I mean, I grew up with, nerdy parents. My grandma, my dad, super into anything science fiction, grew up with good movies as well. But Star Wars was something that they showed me at such a young age that I just fell in love almost right away. I remember I always had kind of like a joke. For some reason, I always wanted my grandma to like marry Darth Maul. Really weird kid idea of mine, but I always was like, yeah, that's my grandma's boyfriend. Weird. I don't know. I was a weird kid with that. So yeah, I mean, the Phantom Menace was something that really brought me into Star Wars. And obviously I was 2 at the time of that movie coming out, or 2.5. So yeah, that was the first movie I ever went to. So it's kind of cool to say the first ever movie theatrical appearance that Brandon has made was the Phantom Menace. But yeah, that's really what brought me into it was, my nerdy parents. That's what got me there.
So, folks who might not have watched a lot of my content might not realize that I haven't been involved in Star Wars fandom online. I'm kind of just discovering it now with the discovery that we could have a Hunt for Ben Solo movie. And I've learned that there are Star Wars fans who don't embrace the new Star Wars content like the sequels in the same way as the originals. What do you appreciate about both the OG Star Wars and the new Star Wars material?
You know, it's such an awesome question because for me, I'm not saying I'm at this high tier of the Star Wars fandom. I believe there's so many different corners. You're into this part of Star Wars, you're into that one. It doesn't make you more of a fan, doesn't make you less of a fan. But I feel like Star Wars is like so a part of my life to where I don't think Star Wars can make anything bad. Like now there's some things that I like more than others 1000%. I would definitely say, I like, Revenge of the Sith more than I do like A New Hope, like, and that's just how I feel about it. But I still love A New Hope so much. It's such a great movie. But that's how I look at the sequels. Now, does it have that same feeling that I did when I was a child, with the original trilogy, with the prequel trilogy? No. But in my opinion, I think the sequels are very, very well done. Now there are some, different little plot points here and there, or you can definitely tell that there's multiple directors and multiple heads working on these 3 films, unlike the others. I feel like that's the only thing that kind of holds those back, but I kind of find the sequel trilogy to be the most rewatchable, in my opinion. There's like the new um cinematography, the graphics, the overall the HD, the quality, it's just very, very well done. But
Mhm.
I do, like I said, I do appreciate all Star Wars, and I feel like it's a really good thing with the sequels because it's a huge change. It's completely different. It's not exactly how the original trilogy was. It's not exactly how the prequel trilogy was. So, I mean, each trilogy kind of has their flaws, of course, but I mean, yeah, I don't really I wouldn't say I really struggle with fitting the sequel trilogy in as some fans do. Some completely retcon them, don't think they should exist, but for me, I think it plugs in pretty well with the other trilogies.
I thought so too. They are in alignment, I guess you could say, with to me with the Star Wars universe. And I think for me, what I love about the original series, or the original trilogies, if you will, the prequels and then the first films, and the sequel films, is that we have this whole arc, covering the Skywalker family and kind of what happens to them and what their origins are, which was exciting when we got the prequels, and then what happened.
Yeah.
It's very kind of like the kings and queens of England, or like if people who are Game of
Yeah.
Thrones fans, you really get to see like this whole history of a tragic family, which I think is something that is compelling to a lot of us. When we study, for example, history or some of the things that we like in our other genres.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree.
Like you, I love the Mandalorian series, and I cannot wait for the movie. Maybe it's just me, but it seems like some of those original Star Wars fans who might not love all of the new material are embracing the Mando stories. What do you think made the Mandalorian more accessible to OG Star Wars fans?
Yeah, I really think it's the timeline where it takes place. I mean, you still get to see stormtroopers, you still get to see Imperial remnants. That's obviously going to be a huge thing going forward, and what we've seen in the Mandalorian. And obviously, getting cameos like Luke Skywalker out of nowhere definitely bring you back to something very familiar for every Star Wars fan. Um, and plus the Yoda species that Grogu and Yoda are, just simply the character dynamics and those, it's something very familiar. And I feel like the Mandalorian, it's not more so of its own thing. It's not like, of course, it's a separate project, it's a spinoff, but you're still heavily connected within the original trilogy for the most part. And you get characters like Grogu who even go way back to the time of the prequel era, just like Ahsoka Tano. And Luke was obviously just born during that time. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing that you see. And plus, I mean, Din Djarin, badass character, really cool. He's the Lone Ranger for a while. He's the gunslinger, and of course, then we get to see this really tough guy get a soft spot for this young creature in Grogu, and then
Exactly.
it turns into kind of that cool lone wolf and cub, aspect. Something you kind of wanted to see with Luke and Vader, but they couldn't be together, obviously. Like if we got to see them, actually rule as father and son, I think that would be kind of a cool wolf and cub aspect. But during this timeline, especially, 7 years post Return of the Jedi, you're getting a good story that still feels interconnected with the original trilogy. And I mean, for the most part, I feel like most fans love the original trilogy, give or take. So yeah, I think the Mandalorian falls in a good place there for the timeline.
Right on. Something that I wonder about too, because again, I grew up. I'm 46 years old, so like you, I'm young enough that I can't remember a time that I didn't know who Luke Skywalker was, or who Darth Vader was, and all those wonderful characters that George Lucas introduced us to in the first three films. Um, I have a real soft spot, I think, as a result for characters who feel like they know what they're doing. Again, Darth Vader, very convinced that he knew what he was doing. Luke Skywalker, I mean, he's in his late teens, early 20s the first time we meet him. Of course, he thinks he knows what the world is all about, right? As we all do when we're at that age.
Yeah.
And they go through this experience of realizing, oh, actually, I had no idea what the universe was all about. And I think
Hmm.
Din Djarin is, experiencing that for himself. He thought he had been told exactly how the universe operates, and is discovering by becoming Grogu's parent, and having to adjust things about his life and himself that he never thought he was going to have to compromise on. He's again having that same process of discovery.
Yeah.
So, Brandon, what can folks expect to see on your platforms in the next few months, in addition to addressing whatever surprises may come up?
Yeah. So I do have a ton of news breakdowns, and especially with, new hires, movies, definitely a lot of different things there. And there's always something to talk about with Star Wars, especially like I mentioned, the new hires. I mean, we have a legendary, producer in Kathleen Kennedy, who's, was handpicked by George Lucas to sign the rights over to. And she has an amazing track record, even stems back to like the early 80s with what she's done. So I think now with Dave Filoni and Lin Brennan, it's kind of, I look at them kind of like as a two-headed monster. So I think Star Wars is still in good hands going forward. So there, I mean, even stuff like that. I mean, we talk about all different types of stuff. We do breakdowns, any new series, and now movies coming out. We will have breakdowns, and of course, the Lego and Funko aspect. I mean, I am a buyer of plastic. I have the sickness where I hoard all of these, amazing toys or collectibles, as you would say. And yeah, I mean, if we put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into the things that we like to collect, I mean, why not show them off? So lots of reviews there. The podcast on the side is just self-titled Clanbrandolorian. Kind of relaunched that this new year. So that's something really fun. And then of course live streams with my boy John every Sunday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. So kind of do a lot going forward, but we're on the verge of hitting 1,000 subscribers. So at that time, we're probably going to do a little cheeky giveaway, and we'll do something really cool. So stay tuned for that.
Well, I appreciate it. And I actually don't feel like you're hoarding any of your plastic at all because you're so kind that you share it with us. So thank you for making the investment, and then we can just kind of enjoy through you.
Yeah. Sometimes it even takes me for a loop because I look at it and I'm like, God, I'm sick. I have a problem, but I mean, I would say probably half the room has been gifted to me over the last few Christmases, um, before my wife and I had our child. I mean, God, we're buying Lego sets every month, so we just, it's been a good time, but we've kind of stepped back a little bit. Now we just kind of wait for holidays, birthdays,
Yeah.
so that's where the collecting side comes from. So
In your content, you have gone to bat, if you will, for The Hunt for Ben Solo. What compelled you to talk about The Hunt for Ben Solo, a movie that's not even in production anymore for now?
yeah, I mean, I have a lot of feelings for this movie. I feel like when it came to our attention that this was actually something that had been in the works since, what was it, 2022, 2023.
Yeah.
It's 2026 now, and the fact that that was hidden from us that long, I feel like if you're online, you see a lot of Star Wars leaks, and this being one of those absolutely drove me nuts because I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I know how people act with the sequel trilogy, but I know more people that like them than don't anymore. People have kind of started, turning. I was just simply blown away that Adam Driver himself had a huge hand in this alongside Steven Soderbergh. So
Mhm.
them two alone, I'm just like, sign me up. Whatever I got to pay, whatever I need to do, we need this to happen. But also, I mean, it's the idea of this altogether, and it shows how Kylo Ren still has a story. It's not over. And I feel like this movie right here would bring so many fans to the attention of the sequel trilogy. It would enhance the sequel trilogy. And an actor like Adam Driver, a director, and the mind that Steven Soderbergh has, this movie has almost zero chance of not being good. I mean, and that's just my opinion, but it's just, it's like, come on, let's be real. This movie would be great. Um, but I mean, you even look at the sequel trilogy and the dyad that Rey and Kylo possess, you have to explore that more. And I feel like The Hunt for Ben Solo, I mean, simply the title, this is probably going to show Rey. This is probably going to show somebody who is looking for Ben Solo, hunting for him, got to find him. And I feel like it would be a really cool plot point for Ray to use the dyad, or simply someone using them and their dyad, their connection, to find him. And the Legacy of Vader comics, if for anyone who hasn't read them, you see a lot of tidbits in there to where it's like, I see where this is going. This is gonna connect pretty well. So yeah, I mean, we gotta get this movie. Like, we gotta get this movie.
Absolutely. And I'm not as deep into Star Wars lore as many of the people that I'm getting to meet, like yourself. I have to admit, I haven't read any of the comics, and I haven't had the opportunity to read the books because, like, I just discovered all of this after October 20th when Adam let us know that this thing, had been started,
Yeah.
and then shut down. Uh, all I know is that Dave Filoni, who is the master of Star Wars canon, gave it thumbs up. So whatever explanation was written into the script, which was written, remember, in the end by Scott Z. Burns, right? He's the guy in the end who was
Yes.
hired to put it together, who's written amazing things. I encourage folks to look up. I'll include a link to his Wikipedia or his IMDb or something. But like the amazing movies that he has written, even though
Yeah.
you don't know his name, he wrote the script. Like it's got to be tight. It's whatever whatever he ended up providing to Disney. It's got to meet all those canon expectations, and I just know it's going to be like great dialogue, great description.
Yes.
And he and Soderbergh have worked a lot together, which you'll also see on
Yes.
the filmography. And a lot of the stuff that they've done together was just thought provoking and emotional. And, so we can't imagine that The Hunt for Ben Solo would be any different.
Oh yeah, it would be so, it would bring in those fans who are even like, not too big into the sequels, but Kylo Ren, cool character, right? He looks cool. I mean, even those people are going to be drawn to this. And especially if this was one that was to go to theaters, which of course it's a Star Wars movie, it's going to go to theaters. I mean, how does it not work? It's just something I even think about to this day, to where it's like, what are we thinking? Like, this Lucasfilm completely greenlighting this, sending it off to Lucasfilm or off to Disney, and it's just shut down right away. And it's like, you don't see how he's alive? What, you saw how Boba Fett was alive, you saw how Asajj Ventress was alive, you saw how Ahsoka Tano was alive, Darth Maul. I mean, there's so many characters that perish and then come back because they're in a galaxy far, far away. They are different than we are. There's not just humans. There's so much force and magic and all those cool things that make Star Wars Star Wars. And people also forget that it is a fantasy. It's fantasy. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, guys, yeah, if we got cut in half and fell down a reactor shaft, I don't think we're making it, but this is, we're not in the galaxy far, far away that George Lucas created. So you kind of got to put the realistic things to the side and, go forward. Just enjoy it. Try to enjoy it, I should say.
Speaking of Disney, so you mentioned, Kathleen Kennedy, handpicked by George Lucas, to take over when he stepped down from the leadership of Lucasfilm, and Lucasfilm went to Disney. We are now seeing, a change in leadership, as you said. Dave Filoni and Lin-Manuel Brennan now in charge at Lucasfilm. March 18th, I think it is, or mid-March.
Yeah,
Bob
yeah, yeah.
Iger, who said, I don't see how Ben Solo could be alive, will be fully retiring. Bob, we wish you well. We hope you have a wonderful retirement.
Yes. Take it
And
easy.
yes, exactly. Take it easy, enjoy. And Josh D'Amaro will be stepping in along with Dina Walden to again get things going again for Disney, turn around some profit losses. I mean, entertainment is a business. um,
Correct.
but I don't know about you, but I kind of like what I've been hearing about Josh in particular, because he seems like someone who is comfortable taking calculated risks. For example, opening the new park in the Middle East, things that he's
Yeah.
done in the parks, because he was head of parks, things that he's done in parks, to make the experience more positive for guests. What's your sense of some of the changes that and how they might affect Star Wars?
Yeah, I think, you said it right. The the risk taking, and that's something that you need. Being too careful, I feel like just pushes the fans away, especially with things like The Acolyte. They tried to go back. Everyone, all Star Wars fans wanted to go back in time, and we went back in time. But, there's a lot of hate surrounding certain ideas and topics that were in The Acolyte, which, you know, show and review bombing is a terrible thing. But we saw that, when people take risks in Star Wars, it can turn out pretty well. So with Josh not necessarily being a head in Star Wars, now is his time to shine. And he's had some things that have not really done too well. I believe that he was in charge or had a huge connection with the Star Cruiser hotel or whatever, like the thing that was supposed to go on, like when you stay there, you're supposed to feel like you're on a like a Star Cruiser out in, the galaxy far, far away. And that didn't, pan out. So I feel like with him seeing some of these losses, now is the time to flip the rock over. Now, I feel like the biggest thing he could do is green light the hunt for Ben Solo. Make it happen, right? Like I feel like this would be a great thing to do. I guess I can kind of include that. So yes, everybody, my camera decided to switch, so we have a new angle, but we still are on the same topic of how, Josh can make a huge boom here. I mean, green lighting the hunt for Ben Solo right off the rip would absolutely be phenomenal work for him. And Dave Filoni and Lin-Manuel Brennan, their first move, with everything in place. Now that everyone is the head of Disney, head of Lucasfilm, got D23 coming in August, I believe. So this is the time to really lure fans in. And the newest Star Wars movie would have been out in May, and now we're going, trains full board to Star Wars Starfighter the next year. So now we have this perfect time and opportunity to maybe announce a new movie to get fans more excited again. So yeah, I feel like the first thing that Josh could do is just let's go. Like let's give the people what they want. And obviously we're very loud about the hunt for Ben Solo. It's something that we want. And I, like we both said already, we don't see how it can lose. And I feel like with Dave and Adam and Steven and all of these, and hundreds of other people working on it, it's not going to fail. It's going to be a great movie.
I can't see how it couldn't be. Now, Brandon, you were on the internet, of course, long before the hunt for Ben Solo. I keep calling it an announcement, but I don't know what it was. I don't know what Adam dropped on us on October 20th. The
Yeah,
revelation.
yeah, something like that.
Whatever it is. So you were on the internet long before that, and you have come to participate with fans like me who are, primarily on the internet for the hunt for Ben Solo. What do you notice about fans who are involved in the hunt for Ben Solo campaign?
I don't want anyone who is seeing this that's not a huge idea or a huge fan of the idea of the hunt for Ben Solo, which I mean, maybe you can now since you're on this video, but it something that I've really noticed is all of the people are very like-minded, very cool, and very calm. We all know it's just kind of like this subgroup of Star Wars. It's like the Legends fans, how they all sit in their side of the cafeteria and they're like, "We love this story. We love Luke." But then there's like this spot over here of the Hunt for Ben Solo people, and we're calm but very loud at the same time. And it's not obnoxious, wild. It is like the most peaceful Star Wars protest you ever imagine. There's people over here with pitchforks like, give me EU Luke. But then there's people over here who are just like, the hunt for Ben Solo, make it happen. And then we'll chant it, we'll scream it. We'll show up to rallies, we'll show up to Times Square with banners and LED visuals of Adam Driver, Steven Soderbergh, make it happen. Disney, talk to us. Um, those are the coolest people, and I always want to be surrounded by Hunt for Ben Solo fans because I haven't met a bad one yet. It's great. I love the community.
And just so folks know, in case you're curious about joining our community, we welcome new members. You are
Yes.
absolutely welcome to join us on our socials and our Discord community. And I think that's one of the things that keeps me there too, Brandon, is the fact that we are very positive. Even Daisy Ridley got word through whatever, channels, she's using on the internet to, monitor, of course, traffic about things that are about her.
Yep.
And she's aware, and told a couple of interviewers that, yeah, I'm aware of the fan campaign, and she actually appreciated the fact that we're not showing up with pitchforks. We are showing up with signs, but no
Yeah.
pitchforks, and just lots of love, saying like, please bring bring Ben back. We
Yes.
miss him. And a lot of the conversation that you'll see behind the scenes, if you should decide to join our Discord community for folks who are out there, is just about some of we actually spend a lot of time talking. I don't know if you get involved in these, Brandon, or not, but and I don't usually weigh in either, because again, I'm not well read, but a lot of folks just get into like the values embedded in the stories and what it means that Kylo Ren rediscovered being Ben, and just things like that, which are generally very positive messages. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that to share as well.
Yeah, I haven't joined really any groups either. I will say I've had a lot of fun talking to many different people. I mean, the Sacred Test podcast, I'm always talking to them. We're always talking about Ben Solo, Kylo Ren. Obviously you now, Jen, this is great. I feel like this is just a good, like, it's kind of like a good like rant and vent session where I'm like, yes, Ben Solo. Let's get a good movie. But there's so many people where it's just like, I don't really weigh in either, but on my social media accounts, I will say I will post something about Ben Solo when I can, just because this is something I want. I enjoy the sequel trilogies. I want more, you know, characters and more stories from the sequel trilogy. And I mean, there's so many good actors: Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, Oscar Isaac. I love John Boyega. I love all of them, and I think they have something to do with Ben's story. And going forward, I would just love to see this happen. I think we would all be so happy in the community for the hunt for Ben Solo. On top of us all being Star Wars fans in general, but just for Kylo is such a cool character, and I feel like we're all just kind of owed this. We can't get it leaked, and we can't have Kathleen Kennedy on her exit interview telling us that the hunt for Ben Solo isn't dead. Actually, it's on the back burner. And if someone wants to pick up this opportunity and take a risk, there it is. We were speaking about risks, what, 10 minutes ago? Yeah,
Yeah,
like let's take a risk, buddy. Let's Your first day at Disney, let it be great. Let it be great.
that would be amazing. I would really love that. And to your point, about how, you appreciate all Star Wars, some things you love more than others, which is just a normal thing. I feel like more Star Wars is just always the best answer to anything. Would I like to see this or would I like to see that? I would actually rather see both, always, all the time, because I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm going to fall in love with.
Yeah, I agree. You never know. And that's the thing. Did a lot of people like Solo right away? Did a lot of people like The Force Awakens? Did people like The Rise of Skywalker? I mean, those are just some movies that came out in the last decade to where we're actually thinking like, oh, so new Star Wars, does it work or does it not? And we're going to see a lot of that with The Mandalorian and Grogu, Star Wars Starfighter, maybe The Hunt for Ben Solo. And I mean, it's it's just something where we need it. It's something that has to be done. And yes, am I very passionate about it? Are you very passionate about it? Of course, but it's something that would very well benefit the Star Wars community, the Star Wars franchise, and just Star Wars overall. I mean, did George Lucas want a million movies and a million TV series? Probably not. But when you sign it over, that's what we're doing. We're getting all these, Star Wars isn't just about Anakin Skywalker. Does he have ties? Of course, because that's what Star Wars is about, but it doesn't have to be. And you get shows like Andor that don't even have lightsabers in it. And we're like, wow, that was wow. You almost don't even have
Wow.
words for, yeah, you don't even have words for how good Andor was. So yeah, that's kind of where I stand with that.
Absolutely. And thinking about, George Lucas, when he sold Lucasfilm, as you said, he picked Kathleen because he was somebody that he trusted. I assume he'd worked with him before because there's this whole Steven Spielberg connection, right, with George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy. So
Yeah.
I've never checked, but I assume they did some things together. And I think there was a whole lot of understanding from George in choosing her, knowing that there's going to be stuff made that he's not going to have his hand in anymore, but she's going to have her hand in it, right? And for
Yep.
folks who might not know, might be watching this, and might not know a lot about Kathleen Kennedy, like to me, what says the most about her skills as a producer was E.T. So of course Spielberg
Yes.
directed, she produced. It was an indie movie at the time, which I actually didn't realize, but it was actually an indie movie, and it's just like it's got the feels. It's science fiction, but it's science fiction that wasn't trying to tell a great big story. It was trying to tell a very personal story about Elliot and his alien friend, and to me, like that tells me a lot about where George was hoping a lot of the new Star Wars stuff would go, and I think she did it. I
Yeah.
really do think a lot of it was telling a lot of those more personal stories. Again, you look at Ahsoka or The Mandalorian as examples, and really taking Star Wars in a different direction, in a lot of ways too, right? Instead of these great big grand, I mean, in the sequels, we still got our great big grand space battles because we love those, but there were the opportunities for these much more intimate stories, which I think Soderbergh also has the reputation of making, right? Any
Yes.
reflections on that, Brandon?
Yeah, I feel like I mean, you look at Steven Soderbergh and what he's done. I mean, The Oceans, Magic Mike. I mean, he's across the board. There's so many different things. And also, I saw an interview, and I'm so mad that I can't remember who was talking about Steven Soderbergh, but the fact that he takes his own camera to shoots. What? I've never heard of a director that takes their own camera to shoots and has their own like eye on the product and on the vision. Like, and the fact that he was able to do that and on like a 4-hour car ride, passenger seat, plug and play on the computer and just whipped up basically like a rough edit of a movie that they had just shot. And
Wow.
that's insane. Give me a movie from this man, in Star Wars. Imagine what it would look like. It could even be something that we wouldn't even expect even with that caliber of talent. So that's why I just feel like you can't when you get big names, I know Star Wars they tend to stay away from like A-list actors and stuff, but you're getting an A-list director, and obviously with Star Wars Starfighter, we're getting A-list actors, Ryan Gosling, Mia Goth in there. I mean, she might not be considered an A-list across the board, but I mean, the movies I've seen her in, I really like. Um, but I mean, it's crazy how you have this talent, you have a franchise like Star Wars. Let's get that together and formulate, the Hunt for Ben Solo. And how would you make a character from a not so loved trilogy and not turn it into something beautiful? It's right there. It's right there in front of us. We just need it, Jen. I mean, it's right there.
I know. So, what are some of the reasons, in addition to anything else that you've shared, that you would like Disney or just the whole world to understand about why the Hunt for Ben Solo should get made?
Yeah. So on top of the things that we've already discussed, I mean, you look at the biggest character in Star Wars, it's Darth Vader. So his grandson, Ben Solo, the the son of Princess Leia and Han Solo, like, the maybe one of the best couples in all of Star Wars. It's so cool to see them as a new beginning couple in the original trilogy and understanding that they ended up having a child together and then, naming them after Obi-Wan. That's so cool. So the lineage, the Skywalker family is still strong going forward. And what's a good Skywalker story without falling to the dark side, right? So now we get to see Kylo have a redemption arc without necessarily dying, unlike Vader did. Now, did he go on? We got to see, that's what the Hunt for Ben Solo is about. We get to see what actually happened after, transferring his life essence to Rey to bring her back. So I think that just plays in with their dyad, because you can't necessarily just, give your essence to someone. We see Anakin transfer the essence of the daughter into Ahsoka, but that was more of a, like, an entity, like a god, that the daughter, the son, and the father were. This is a life for a life, and they're a forced dyad. So I feel like that's something that would make the sequels a little sloppy, is just enforcing that Rey and Kylo Ren have this dyad that is not a very common thing. And now it's just like, oh yeah, they had this dyad. That's how it worked. Done. That's what this movie can really branch on, is that dyad, and it shows why Rey is important, why Rey Skywalker is important. Those characters, they're drastically different. Rey Skywalker going forward is, the future of Star Wars, and then now you have the opposite end, the dark side. You have Kylo Ren, now Ben Solo. So now we get to see a movie where Kylo Ren is a good guy, quote unquote a good guy from a certain point of view, why he's on the light side now. So I'm all those reasons right there is just why this movie needs to be made. Plus, it's going to bring Star Wars fans who are kind of confused with the sequels, kind of confused with Adam Driver and his character. This would be the one that kind of brings you up to speed pretty quick.
I agree. And I also think it'll be a nice pair up with the Rey movie, which we know is in production, or at least Daisy
Hmm.
Ridley has assured us not everything's still good with that one. It's happening, they're
She's
rolling.
already working out.
That's right, exactly. She's hit the gym, so we know it's looking good. And to me, like, that just seems like a helpful thing, because you can absolutely do standalone Star Wars movies, right? Starfighter, Mandalorian, and Grogu, I guess, is kind of a standalone movie, because we have the series and then a movie, and nobody's confirmed anything yet about future movies. But it would be really nice to have some companion pieces, I guess you could say, to go with that future, because we've got Starfighter, which seems to be set in the future, and then the Rey movie, which of course is set in the future. So let's build up the Star Wars, future universe, because we're still interested in it. Again, I don't read the books and the comics, but we're going to need something to write about. And I think I could see myself very easily getting into those things, but I'm going to want stuff to read. And so
Right.
telling the future of the Star Wars universe seems like a great idea, especially again with really knowledgeable people like Dave Filoni, in charge now at Lucasfilm.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, Brandon, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so. Probably the main thing is Disney. Make The Hunt for Ben Solo. Lucasfilm, make The Hunt for Ben Solo. And Adam Driver, Steven Soderbergh, we are in your corner, and we'll always be there. That's all I got to say.
That's amazing. And Darth Maul was an interesting choice.
Yeah, trust me. I'm kind of embarrassed to talk about it, but it's such a core memory of mine, especially thinking back to my young times of being a Star Wars fan. But I'm not lying. Who would lie about that? That's just what I was thinking at 3-4 years old.
that's,
Yeah.
that's totally awesome. And at my house, it's Warhammer. My spouse has the plastic addiction, and so
Yeah.
he is. There's always something arriving in the mail.
I think my camera is my
Your
is
camera's
my camera
decided
fuzz-
you're X-rated. Oh dear.